So why do the most powerful institutions on Earth hide their most important work? I mean, really hide it. And what kind of systems even make that possible? Well, today we're going to tackle those questions by digging into the system of secrecy revealed in Annie Jacobsen's incredible book on Area 51.
All right, let's just jump right in. I'm going to say two words. Area 51. What's the first thing that pops into your head? For almost everyone, a very specific image comes to mind, right? It's basically become this global shorthand for, well, for government conspiracy.
And yeah, for millions of us, that image is aliens. You know the drill. Captured UFOs, strange otherworldly tech, basically a cosmic Watergate being covered up out there in the Nevada desert. It's the myth, right? It's a story we've all grown up with from movies and TV shows. But what if the real story is actually way stranger and honestly a lot more important? See, the research in this book makes a compelling case that Area 51's biggest secret isn't from outer space at all. It's actually a story about something born right here on Earth, a system. A story about how the entire architecture of modern American secrecy was literally designed and built from the ground up. So, to really get our heads around Area 51, we can't just start in the 1950s with all the cool spy planes. Nope, we have to go back even further. Back to the one project that started it all, the mother of all black projects. The template, the actual blueprint for Area 51 and pretty much every top secret program since, was forged in the fire of World War II. We're talking about the Manhattan Project. You know, that frantic, desperate race to build the atomic bomb. But here's the thing. It didn't just create a terrifying new weapon. It created a completely new way of keeping secrets. And the scale of this thing, it's just staggering. We're talking about $28 billion in today's money. Think about that. When you're spending that kind of cash, you need more than a keep out sign. You can't just hope nobody notices. You have to build an entire system designed from the ground up to make something massive completely invisible. And that's exactly what they did. Just try to wrap your head around this. 200,000 people, 80 different facilities spread across the country. And to keep the real goal a secret, the whole thing was designed like a maze of locked rooms. Each scientist, each engineer, they only had the key to their one little room. They were just working on their tiny piece of the puzzle with no idea what the final picture looked like. The secrecy was so total, so absolute, that the vice president himself, Harry Truman, the guy who would literally have to decide whether or not to use the bomb, had no clue it even existed. Now that is the power of a black operation. So the war ends, right? You'd think a system like that, built for wartime, would just be dismantled. But no, the opposite happened. It got formalized. It was actually written into law, creating this brand new, incredibly powerful legal architecture for secrecy. Okay, and this right here is the absolute key. The Atomic Energy Act of 1946. This act created a new group, the Atomic Energy Commission, or AEC. And get this, it gave this new civilian agency total control over all nuclear information in a system that was completely separate from the president's authority. This was a massive, radical shift in how power worked. And at the heart of this new power was this just truly wild concept called born classified. Think about what that means. It meant that certain ideas, certain pieces of research, even just certain thoughts scribbled on a napkin, they were automatically top secret the very second they were created. No review. No one had to stamp it. Their very existence was a secret by default. And this quote from a former officer just nails the consequence of that. It gave a very small group of unelected officials what he called unanswerable authority. They, and they alone, got to decide what was a secret. And their decision was final. It existed in a whole different universe, completely separate from any kind of normal democratic oversight. Okay, so here's where it all comes together. Jacobsen's research shows that the very first group to set up shop on the land we now call Area 51, it wasn't the CIA building spy planes. It was the Atomic Energy Commission. This brand new power structure started using that remote stretch of Nevada desert as a home for its most secret work all the way back in 1951. So you have this powerful new system, this new legal framework for secrecy. What was it all for? What was it designed to do? Well, it was built to create a sandbox, a place where science and technology could just race forward faster than anywhere else on Earth, completely hidden from everyone. And to do that, you need a lot of space. And they found it. Area 51 is just one part of a government-controlled area that is bigger than the entire state of Connecticut.
It's this huge empty stage, perfect for testing the kinds of bleeding-edge technology that could literally decide who won the Cold War. You know, Churchill famously said this about Russia, but those words, they perfectly capture the American strategy at the time. The thinking was to beat an enemy whose entire society is built on secrecy. Well, you have to fight fire with fire. You have to mirror their techniques. You have to build your own enigma right there in the desert. And man, the results were revolutionary. This system of total secrecy created these incredibly powerful incentives. If you succeeded, you were delivering a breakthrough that could put you years ahead of your rivals. It made it possible to develop some of the most advanced aircraft in history at just breakneck speed. We're talking the U-2 spy plane, the A-12 Oxcart, its legendary successor, the SR-71 Blackbird, and all the way up to the stealth drones we have today. Every single one of them was born in the black world of Area 51. But of course, a system this powerful, this effective, it comes with a price. It created this deep structural conflict between the need for national security and the basic principles of a democracy. And that tension, that's really the crisis in perception that still surrounds Area 51 today. And here it is. Here's the core paradox of the whole thing. The exact same system that made all those amazing breakthroughs possible is also the system that shielded them from the public, from Congress, and yeah, sometimes even from the president himself. It was designed from day one to operate with as little visibility as possible. And if you want a really stunning example of just how powerful that system became, look at this. In the 1990s, President Clinton starts a committee to investigate secrets from the Cold War. But when his own people tried to get certain records from Area 51, they were shut down. They were blocked. And the reason they were given? The power to classify that information came from that old Atomic Energy Act, and they argued that the President of the United States himself did not have the need to know. Which, of course, brings us to today. I mean, the U-2, the Oxcart, that stuff has been declassified for years. So why? Why does the government still go to such extreme lengths to basically deny the base even exists? What on earth could still be there that requires this level of secrecy all these decades later? Well, the book offers a very controversial answer. It argues that the deepest, most lasting secret has nothing to do with spy planes. It claims that a program connected to the wreckage from the infamous 1947 Roswell incident was moved to that Nevada site way back in 1951. That would predate the CIA's involvement, and, if true, it would be the original sin, the one secret that has to be protected no matter what. Now look, whether you buy that conclusion or not, just understanding the history we've talked about completely flips the script on Area 51. It forces us to shift our focus away from little green men and onto the very powerful men who designed this entire system. It makes Area 51 less about what they're hiding and much more about how a government builds a system of secrecy when grabbing technological power is the #1 goal. And that really leaves us with a huge fundamental question. That system, born out of the Manhattan Project, was built for a world at total war. But here we are today, in a modern democracy. Who gets to have that unanswerable authority? Who gets to decide what we, the public, or even our own elected leaders, actually have a need to know?